This ain't no audiobook. This ain't a radio play. This is a Happy Cloud audio tune. It's that time again for the Further Adventures of Rune, Return of the Miggins, brought to you by Happy Cloud Media and Crown Toothpaste. Crown Toothpaste, it's better for your teeth than a brick. Chapter 20, Canto 3, The Seven Departments of Hell. Going down, her cheerful demeanor never abating, eyes never blinking, mouth never frowning. A gleefully upbeat song played over the speakers as the Hellevator began its descent, a chanting chorus of people both shiny and happy. Everything is awful when you have no mouth and you want to just scream. Everything is awful when you're part of our theme. Rune cringed. He hated popular music. Then there was the second verse, a little bit louder and exponentially worse. Everything is awful. Everything is gross when you're leaving your grave. Everything is awful when you're dust above teeth. Over and over and over again. Somehow, watching Dusty bop his head and hum along to the music was even more maddening. Does this song ever change? All the time. In another 100 fleens, it'll be the entirety of the streets of Laredo. The Hellevator shuddered, and the door slammed shut in much the same way a trap would. Uneasy glances passed among the Miggins like an improv exercise, save for Brother Theodore, who was so gleeful he almost smiled. Twice. Without warning, the Hellevator dropped, and with it, all stomachs. As they fell, Rune heard Virgilia's voice inside his head. Each stop is chosen by you. Only you know who deserves to be in hell. Before Rune could question her, the Hellevator slammed to its first stop. The door squealed open to reveal a dark vista rendered in charcoal. Gray and white souls of all forms and species moaned in agony and frustration. Many swirled through the sky in a ceaseless vortex. On the ground, they were buffeted by hail the size and cost of golf balls. Legs together, arms at their sides, they flopped like seals on the carbon sand. Rune could hear their cries of "Why?" and "Why?" and "Are we there yet?" Despite all evidence before them, they still demanded more information. What am I here again? The willfully ignorant, Rune whispered. Suddenly, it all fell into place. The lesson the Hellevator had to offer was clear. Obvious, in fact. Condescending, if you wanted to put a name to it. Each time the doors opened, the riders within would see those they truly believed deserved punishment. For Rune, the willfully ignorant had always been at the top of his list. The argumentative, the line stoppers, the wrench flingers, sand in the Vaseline. So there they were, swirling around a starless void for eternity, because he, Rune, willed it so. Virgilia had not moved. Her face remained hooked in its eternal eager-to-pleaseness. First Malvosia, he heard her whisper in his ear. The deliberately obtuse, contrarians, devil's advocates, election agents, authors of letters to the editor, and all survey takers. He glanced around at his companions, imagining what they were seeing beyond those doors. Ignorant dopes and schmucks as well. Perhaps Father Dawn saw heretics buried up to their nostrils in the cattle dung of their own blurgsly. Perhaps the unkillables saw themselves, endlessly pushing a boulder over first one, then the other. For Scarlet, perhaps it was the legions of foes she'd already faced. Or maybe just Myra, the rude hairdresser in Dragonwick who'd fried her roots that one St. Miggins Eve. Dusty St. Clair merely hummed along to the music. It was unclear if he understood even half of what was going on, but that was nothing new. Again, the doors slammed shut with the finality of a guillotine. And again, the Hellevator drove. For the second time, it halted like a harried mother in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Another squeal of protest, and the door slid open again, this time revealing a hall of mirrors with wandering souls facing their own reflections. The reflections, even more twisted and distorted, whispered as they passed and folded and reflected and refracted, confronting, condemning. Everyone knows, they whispered. You fool no one. They will hope for you. They see you. Everyone sees you. Second Malvosia. Hypocrites, deceivers, humbugs, and middle managers. Wham! The door slammed shut and the cramped conveyance dropped again. The doors opened. A banquet was just beyond. A long, winding table, not an empty chair for clicks and clicks, vanishing over the grim horizon. Each plate empty. Each serving platter empty. Beneath every chrome dome, nothing. Nothing was on the menu, and nothing is what each proud servant continually served, to the eternal dismay of those gaunt and desiccated seated at the table. At the feet of the starving, happy children of all forms enjoyed an unending feast. Each plate and bowl beneath the table filled to brimming. Beneath the table, nothing was for want. Above them, all craved anything. To those who want, hell provides. From everywhere and nowhere, a gong chimed. and then gold coins and paper currency rained from the sky, filling each bowl and plate and glass. The servants opened strong umbrellas against the downpour, stood aside and smiled, watching as their masters had no choice but to eat their fill. Sobbing, the starving, in their elegant suits and extravagant gowns, used both hands to shovel money into their trembling mouths which opened wider and wider still to accommodate larger portions of currency. "All right, I get it," said Rune. "The gluttony of the wealthy. Well done, hell of irony."
Third Malvosia, tyrants, politicians, millionaires, despots, CEOs, and cryptocurrency enthusiasts.
Wham! Drop! Stop!
Squeal! Fourth Malvosia.
Another endless parade. A single-file line of every type of being stretching from infinity at one end to who blurging new at the other. With each step, the ones behind stabbed the ones before. They withdrew the knives and plunged again. Each stab elicited a howl of agony, sometimes an apology, or usually a profanity. Every now and then, a horn honks to let them know that hell finds this hilarious. "Betrayers," said Rune, a little annoyed at the obvious symbolism.
The disloyal, the perfidious, the sinister,
the left-handed?
You know what we meant.
In Rune's worldview, hell was deserved by only the worst, and certainly the worst had been so far encountered. What could be left? Cutthroats, murderers, assassins, insurance salesmen, chiropodists? Just business, in his experience, regardless of what the holy books said. The greatest peeves in his peeve petting zoo had always been those who exploit the powerless. To everything else, he was largely indifferent. Wham! Stop! Judging by the extended squeal, the doors were relishing the suspense. He wondered idly if redcaps, the vicious lumps of fungi and dung that had evolved into Cygnus's hateful legionnaires, possessed souls of enough substance to even comprehend the punishment of hell. If so, he'd love to see a bottomless chasm filled to the brim with the hateful beasts. It then occurred to him that enjoying hell might be bad form. There might even be a hell for that. With a final shudder, the doors opened on the shores of a frozen lake, Cocytus perhaps, or Lake Huron. Within the ice were imprisoned millions of personages, some upside down, their legs kicking helplessly in the air. On the shore, millions more fled something from the valley beyond, out of sight but roaring. Screaming, too, in the distance. Those escaping trampled and climbed over each other in a panic. At the edge of the ice was locked a single rowboat, already filled to capacity with shoving desperate passengers. The pilot, naked and fiercely bearded, wore a name tag pinned directly to his bare barrel of a chest. "Hello, my name is Caron." To his back was affixed a similar tag. "How's my ferrying? Use Palantir 5667 to complain." In his mighty hands was a massive oar, and with it he dashed out the brains of anyone who got close to the filled-up boat. "Sorry, sir. We're all full up. Dreadfully sorry, miss. You'll have to wait for the next one. All set? Oh, no, only a few centuries. Pip and toodle and back again."
Fifth Malvosia.
Commuters. With finality, the doors slammed closed and the elevator made its final descent. Chapter 21, Canto 4, The Sphinx at the Garden Gate.
Terminal Malvosia, Gehenna, Sheol, Tartarus, and the Garden of Trogly Delights, through which you'll continue your path through Yggdrasil to Dismadonna. It's just straight past the egg-pierced man, the blade with ears, and the king of hell. If you reach the musical buttocks, you've gone too far.
It was then Virgilia paused, a pregnant pause which gave birth to an uncomfortable silence. Throughout it all, the hooks forced her to grin. When she abruptly continued, everyone jumped.
You have one final task before you can enter the garden and journey beyond to Yggdrasil,
said Virgilia, their Hellevator operator of the damned.
You must each reveal to the Sphinx exactly what you saw on your trip down. In reward, she'll update your aura so all will know you're only visiting. This will also validate your parking.
At first, Rune didn't understand what she'd meant. They'd all journeyed together, making each stop along the way. No one left the Hellevator. How could any of them possibly have had a different experience?
Thank you for choosing the Hellevator for all your descendant needs. We hope you've had a pleasant journey through all your existential nightmares. Y'all coming back now.
The Hellevator doors closed behind them and vanished entirely. Before them stood a great gate of iron and wood, looming so tall that the top bits were hidden in the steel-gray clouds. Beside the entrance, upon a pedestal to the left, their left, sat a Sphinx. Her lower body was of a lion, and her face that of a lioness, but the torso that of a naked humanish female, for no particular reason other than blatant titillation. No pun intended, probably. "Yeah, so that's a Sphinx," said Father Don, who hadn't had a line in a while. Dusty sniffed the air. "Smells all right to me." Scarlet patted his arm. The Sphinx opened her great green eyes and beamed thin casts of hard light upon the party. Rune stepped forward, shoved hard from behind by the others. "Oh, hey,"
Reveal your journey,
said the Sphinx, its voice echoing in the ancient darkness. "Yeah," said Rune. "No idea what that means." This time the Sphinx spoke slowly and twice as loudly as if to a slow child or a politician.
Whom did you see suffering outside those doors?
Finally caught up, Rune told her of the hypocrites, the abusers, the betrayers, the exploiters, that one guy named Earl I saw just as the doors were closing on Bolgia 3, the one hitting his crotch with a hammer. Not sure what his sin was, but the punishment seemed appropriate. Satisfied, the Sphinx nodded and the gate slid aside with a mighty whoosh and a cloud of black dust. Rune stepped through the gate and the gate slid shut behind him. Rune knew he should have continued further up the path, but he could not resist the temptation to hang back and hear the others confess. He needed to understand how a singular descent in the Hellevator could yield different experiences. Rune heard the Sphinx ask again,
Who did you see suffering outside those doors?
From the other side, Rune heard Father Dawn's confession. Basically, I saw everyone from Chapter 5 of the Ad Absurdum, and Chapters 9 and 10 of the Ad Infinitum, and the fall issue of the TV Guide. So no real surprises, really. Well, maybe my cousin Earl, though I don't see how smacking yourself with a ball peen... Oh wow, I just got why that kind of hammer is called that. Crazy, man. Anyway, can I go now? Again, the gate slid open. Rune stepped back into the shadows to avoid being seen as the alleged holy man passed through.
Who did you see?
Everybody, answered Brother Theodore, and then he too was on the other side. Not a single Gax in sight, said the Gax proudly, and in he bounded, looking smug and satisfied, which should have also been sins in Rune's book, but only as far as the Gax was concerned. He didn't quite catch Scarlet's answer, nor Dusty's, but they both entered the gate together. In seconds it closed behind them for good. As they passed him, Rune caught up and succumbed to his curiosity. We all traveled down here together, didn't we? The pair agreed. Who did you see? He asked Scarlet. Only men, I'm assuming? She nodded. Plus a couple of chicks from high school. And Myra? Oh yeah, Myra. With a shrug, Rune turned to Dusty. What about you? Who did you see? When? Rune slapped his forehead and massaged his muzzle. The whole way down. Not a soul, Chief. Never met anyone who deserves to suffer in hell. But what about all the stops? Don't know what you mean, Chief of my heart. Doors closed, opened again, then we were outside. Pity it was such a short ride. I really wanted to hear the end of that song. He shot a pair of finger guns at Rune, who stood rooted to the spot. Lawful good is just virtue signaling, you know. Another hill, another crest, and another beyond, and this time, the Garden of Trogly Delights. Thus concludes this episode of the Further Adventures of Rune. Tune in next week via your favorite audio delivery system.